I just finished my sophomore year, which means I am halfway done, and I have some thoughts. Now, before I get into it, I think I should probably preface this by saying, don't get me wrong, I love going to art school, genuinely, and I'm really grateful to have the privilege to go in the first place, but you know, every institution has its issues, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of just spill some of the tea that I've experienced so far. So without further ado, as you probably already know, the tuition of art schools is egregiously expensive, but the payments do not just end at the tuition. And I'm not just talking about room and board, I'm also talking about the supplies. The thing is, with how expensive the tuition is, you'd kind of expect the school to, I don't know, like provide the art students with some of the required supplies, but of course not. You're kind of just expected to pay for everything out of pocket. For my school and like a lot of other art schools, they don't really let the freshmen declare a major yet. They kind of just like mix everybody into the same basic classes, and then they call it like a foundation year. And it basically gives everybody the opportunity to explore different areas of art and design before they commit to a major in their second year. That's cool and all, but why do we have to pay for like 60 different art supplies that you refuse to provide for us, that some of us, me included, don't end up using after like 1 or 2 semesters? So this aspect may very much depend on the professor you get, but some of the things they ask you to get can get really niche, like a 4.3 left-threaded screw made of pre-industrial Italian bismuth paired out lapis alloy, hand-forged using a 19th century blacksmithing technique rediscovered in a defunct dropshipping Etsy shop used exclusively for mounting postmodern, Art Deco, Bauhaus, yogurt shadow boxes inspired by the socio-political unrest of 1830s Belgium. Thankfully for stuff like that, I was smart and I ended up sharing with like a classmate, which that is a genuine piece of advice I have. If you have to like buy like a very hyper-specific supply that you know you're not gonna use after that 1 semester, and if it's possible, split the cost with somebody and then share. Sharing is caring. It's probably better for the environment if you do that too. Yeah, so my major and my interests outside of class basically only require me to use my computer. So a lot of the supplies I was forced to get in my freshman year are kind of just rotting in my closet now. So picture this. You wake up early in the morning, you know you need to print something in order to present it to the class that night. Therefore, you commute to campus super early so that you have plenty of time to get your printing done. So you get to campus, and this campus has a ton of printers because this is a design school. You go over to the main printing center, and lo and behold, the printers you need are all broken. And you're like, okay, it's not the end of the world because I'm sure there are other printers I can go to. On the broken printers, it says, oh, this printer's broken, so you should go to this printer on this floor in this building. So you go to the next printer that the first printer said to go to, and it seems like it's working, right? It doesn't say out of order or anything. And so you try to print your project using it, and it turns out the printer is missing ink. So now your work looks like poop. And then you end up spending hours going on a scavenger hunt throughout the campus using different printers only to find out that they're missing ink, B, they're missing, I don't know, something. And then they have some kind of just weird technical issue that just prevents your work from looking how you want it. And you basically just spend the entire day doing that until, you only have 30 minutes left, time to just, you know, settle for this printer because it looks the least poopy. And then you just have to present that. I'm not saying that happened to me, but you know, that's a very real scenario that you might have to go through because none of the printers ever work when you need them to. And then you wonder, you know, if my tuition isn't going towards supplying students with art supplies, if it's not going towards the printers, then where is it going? Because it kind of feels like it's going down the toilet. And speaking of giving nothing, whenever we finish a project and present it to our class, we call this a critique. It's where the rest of the class and the professor can give their feedback. Like for example, constructive criticism or praise. It's definitely the most common practice you'll experience if you go to an art school. And because I've gone through so many different critiques over the past 2 years, let's just say I've experienced good critiques. I've also experienced other kinds of critiques. I don't want to be mean, but half of them were kind of giving nothing. Like, they were kind of serving nothing. So yeah, that's pretty much my project. Thanks for listening to my presentation. Okay, thank you so much, Anna. All right, so what do we think, class? Yes, Jared? I like the color red. Okay, and anything else you want to add to that? Yes, you, Jared. I like the color red. The critiques were definitely way worse during freshman year, I think, because everyone was a little shy. We were trying to assimilate into the art school and into college. But I don't know. It kind of just like gets to a point where you could at least like try to give feedback of some substance, like a molecule, like a tiny molecule of substance, like just something. That's not to say I'm like the perfect critiquer either, but definitely as I've been growing through art school, I have been becoming more mindful of how I give my critiques, not just saying I like something without explaining why. Because I expect other people to give me decent critiques, I do my best to give the best critiques I can. That's something that I really value. I'm a bit nervous talking about this next part, but I think it's important to be honest and freedom of speech, y'all. Most of the professors I've had so far have been genuinely great. Love them. Except for one. I can't really go into the details. Maybe I'll do it, after I graduate. But let's just say the worst professors I've had, they do this specific thing. And this specific thing isn't just found in my school. I've heard like a bunch of stories from other people who go to other art schools. But basically in art school, most of these professors are professionals who are already working in the industry. So they have industry experience and they have their own practices, which means they have their own niches and styles and beliefs. So what happens when these professors teach a class of let's say 16 different people who also each have their own niches, styles, and beliefs as artists and designers? Well, the best professors I've had simultaneously take into consideration each student's individuality and creative expression, while also giving good constructive criticism, based on basic design principles and, industry standards. The key being they take into account each student's creative vision and then they try to help them grow from there. However, the not so great ones, they kind of just want their students to become mini versions of themselves. So they basically act like, their specific tastes, and I'm talking beyond just basic design principles, their specific tastes, that is, the gold standard. And if the students don't copy exactly what they do, to the T, well, tough luck, babe, you get a bad grade. And as someone who has experienced a professor like this, I think it's kind of a stressful environment to be in because you end up second guessing everything you make. And I think especially because this is art we're talking about, a lot of it is a lot more subjective compared to things like math or science. So it makes it a bit more tricky to navigate when it comes to giving criticism. With professors, I think it can also go the completely other direction where the professor isn't critical enough or doesn't push boundaries enough. So the students are kind of just left to their own devices to the point where they're not actually learning anything.
Hi, Editing L here. Just inserting a small, very minor volume warning because I do get very passionate in this next part. It's literally the most first world problem ever.
So, there's this specific chair that has infested my entire school. Every classroom you go in, you see this one kind of chair. And oh my god, it is the most uncomfortable chair in the world. I actually hate this chair. We are forced to sit on it for hours at a time. See, it looks like a stool. And regular stools, they're aight. They're C tier on a tier list. But they're already kind of uncomfortable, especially if you sit on them for prolonged periods of time because there is no back support. But this chair is just insulting because it dares to pretend it does have back support. That dinky little metal rectangle in the back, it's just there to mock you. It's just there to laugh at you because its back support actually makes the chair 100 times more uncomfortable than a regular stool. It literally stabs into your back. And it's not like I'm an abnormally tall person or something. I am a respectably average 5'6". And no, of course you can't change the height of the back support. It's literally like screwed in. You're kind of just like stuck with that height of the back support unless you just conveniently carry around a Home Depot wrench. So last semester, when I had to sit on this chair for hours while also having an ear infection during my final critique, I was actually on the verge of having the world's greatest crash out because oh my god. You know, as a art/design school, you would kind of expect the chairs to, I don't know, be well designed, but no. But
Poopy.
those aside, I think the past 2 years have been pretty great for me, and a lot of that is due to going to art school and the freedom that comes with that and pursuing my passions. So I can suck it up and deal with the
Poopy.
years. Because so far I find that the pros outweigh the cons. So far. I'll probably make an update video once I graduate, but that's it for now. So if you enjoyed my crash out/rant, smash that like button and subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!
Poop.